Dominique Pelicot, the ex-husband of the French woman at the center of a mass rape trial that has shocked the world, has now been sentenced to 20 years in prison, the maximum term for his crimes in France. His 50 co-defendants were jailed for between 3 and 15 years. Gisèle Pelicot says she still has hope for the future.
The end of a grueling, months-long mass rape trial for Gisèle Pelicot. In that time, she's become a symbol of strength and resilience, and a feminist icon.
To the unrecognized victims whose stories often remain in the shadow, I want you to know that we share the same fight. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the people who supported me throughout this ordeal. Your testimonies have moved me, and I've drawn from them the strength to come back every day to face these long days of hearings. When I opened the doors to this trial on the 2nd of September, I wanted society to be able to understand the proceedings. I've never regretted that decision. I now have confidence in our collective ability to grasp a future in which everyone, women and men alike, can live in harmony with mutual respect and understanding. Thank you very much.
Dominique Pelicot, the ex-husband of Gisèle Pelicot, was sentenced to the maximum term of 20 years in prison for his crimes. They include rape and drugging his then-wife. Almost all of his 50 co-defendants were found guilty of rape and given jail terms ranging from 3 to 15 years, less than prosecutors demanded. Dominique Pelicot made contact with dozens of men on an online platform and recorded the abuse in hundreds of videos and photos. The convicted men come from all walks of life and range in age from their 20s to their 70s. They've become known in France as Mr. Everyman. Most denied they had raped Gisèle Pelicot. The case has sparked a fierce debate in France about consent, the laws regarding sexual violence, and the behaviour of men.
I hope there will be a before and after this trial for all the victims of domestic, sexual, sexist violence. I'm not sure it will change things, but I hope it does. I hope judicially it will stand as an example.
The end of a historic trial, one marked by the bravery of Gisèle Pelicot for helping to shift shame away from those who suffer sexual violence to those who commit it.
For more on this story, I spoke to Maïna Cerniawsky, Vice President of the Feminist French Association, Osez the Féminisme. I asked her if she was happy with the verdicts.
We are happy that they were recognized culpable in this case, because we know that 90% of the rape accusations are not classified. They are classified without pursuit. But what we are not happy is about the very lenient and very small condemnation for certain of the accusés. We know that Gisèle Pelicot has been 4 years in instruction for this case, and we have men who have raped her who have a sentence that's about 3 years with a lot of suspendu. So we would like that the largest condemnation would have been held for all of the people who have raped her.
So you think these terms were too short? According to the Institute of Public Policy, a Paris-based think tank, 86% of the cases of sexual violence and up to 94% of rape cases are entirely dismissed in France. When you look at those two facts together, do you think French authorities are too lenient when it comes to sexual violence?
Yes, and there's not investment enough in the finding out the proof to condemn the people. So normally, on average, the person who gets convicted for rape gets about 10 years. So in this particular case, seeing all the things that made it a worse case, we would have counted that the aggravant things would have incurred a penalty that is the same as the average, which is 10 years for the 1% that does get condemned. But what we need is funds for the investigation. So the 94% of rape cases that get archived without any pursuit, it's because there is not a money investment to allow people to research and do their investigations.
And just for our international audience to better understand, where does that funding come from? Who can make that available?
So currently we have, with another 60 feminist associations, a proposition for a loi cadre intégrale, so a large, concise law that incorporates all the items that we need, including psychological accompaniment for the victims. And at the moment, France is the country that funds the less compared to the other European countries' investigations. So we are asking for 244 million to help us combat sexual violence against women.
Tell me more about what is in that plan. What measures would you like to see put into law to help combat sexual violence?
So we would like particularly that there is a training and a specialization for magistrates, for policemen, for anyone who is welcoming the women who are coming forward and telling their story. And we would also like a specialized course. We would like money as well for the accompaniment psychological of all the victims and for the vulnerable population as well, and also to do a prevention and information program. So in order to deconstruct the gender stereotypes that begin this continuum of violence that culminates with rape and feminicide.
Now, a lot of what was so shocking about this case was what it said about French society. When you look beyond those specific measures more broadly at French society, do you think that it too has to change?
Yes, because the stereotypes, they contribute to this type of violence. The masculinity is constructed against this notion that women are inferior and that they are worth less in their objects. So we can see that out of all the men who have come to take advantage of this crime, and together with Dominique Pelicot, even those who have refused to take part in it, none of them have alerted the police in a period of 10 years. So they effectively left a person in a situation that was very dangerous. And over a period of 10 years, not one person, not one man have come forward anonymously to the police to denounce this.
And the fact that Gisèle Pelicot insisted that this trial be held in public, how important do you think that was to get attention to this case and open a debate about sexual violence?
This was vital. We are only talking about it internationally because of her choice to make it public. And it's a very brave choice because we know the stigma that's attached to victims of sexual violence. And this is very important for us. It's not every woman who is in this position. Gisèle Pelicot is a particular type of victim in the sense that there was material proof and videos of all the rapes that she had suffered. She's also a very, let's say, integrated in society person. She's a white, middle-class, heterosexual grandmother. So this has facilitated in a way that the public can empathize with her, but we extend our empathy to all other victims who are in a position where they cannot speak publicly about what has happened to them because of the stigma attached.
Well, thank you so much for joining us to speak about these important issues. That is Maïna Cerniawsky, Vice President for the French Feminist Association, Osez le Féminisme. Thank you again.
Thank you.
NDW's Lisa Louis has been reporting from the court in the French city of Avignon. Lisa, good to see you. It wasn't just Dominique Pelicot, as we've heard. Judges have convicted all 51 defendants in this mass rape trial, and they've handed down a number of prison sentences. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yes, these 50 other convicted received sentences, prison sentences of between 3 and 15 years, depending on, the individual circumstances and also their background. Now, some of these convicted have already spent time in prison and can walk free today because a part of those prison sentences were also, were on parole. So that is something that many people actually have complained about here at court. I was here reporting earlier, and there were lots of people demonstrating after the announcement of the verdict.
This has been a case that has shocked the world. What kind of reaction has there been there in France to this verdict?
Well, the the French press really has been reporting on this extensively on a day in, day out basis. You know, they were doing live shows, they were listening in at the courtroom. That is really because Gisèle Pelicot decided to waive her right to anonymity, and that has really had an impact. She wanted, as she said, for shame to shift to the perpetrators away from the victim, and it really seems that she has, at least to a certain extent, achieved that. Many people here have been talking about this trial. Everybody really has heard in one way or another of the Pelicot trial, and obviously it's been a topic of discussion. Obviously, there were also lots of international media here today for the verdict, but also during these 4 months of trial. And, there has been a lot of attention that was drawn to what happened here at the courtroom and at the courthouse in Avignon.
And in addition to her shifting how people thought about this case, do you think Gisèle Pelicot's ordeal has affected the debate in France over how sex crimes are prosecuted?
Well, this is what some people are asking for, you know. One can say that a commission on so-called chemical submission, that is rape under the influence of drugs, has been revived by the government, apparently also, at least partly, in response to this case. So one senator and one member of parliament are now looking into how possibly, how to change laws, how to change, for example, training for health officials, also for education, how education can be adapted to today's circumstances. And they're also looking into how to maybe gather figures on chemical submission, because there are no figures on a nationwide level just yet. So there is something that is moving. Obviously, there's also debate going on, for example, amongst feminists, saying, this is really showing that we need to change our understanding, our definition of consent. For example, some are saying, we might have to, we should actually include a definition of active consent, which basically means that you need to give your clear agreement, and otherwise, if you don't, then any sexual act would be regarded as sexual assault or rape.
So it sounds like this trial really has increased the pressure on politicians to better protect against rape and sexual assault.
Well, this is obviously what people here have been asking for. But mind you, the people I've been talking to, for example, a group of feminists that have been following the trial very closely and putting up banderoles or placards across the street, with phrases that were said inside the courtroom, they have actually said, yes, there are a lot of people watching this, lots of journalists have come here, and lots of people in France are aware that this is happening. However, we haven't heard enough politicians talk about this. Gabriel Attal, the former prime minister, came out commenting on that, saying, really, I salute Gisèle Pelicot's courage. She really has become a symbol of dignity and resilience. And yet, as I said, many feminists and many people here are saying there should have said more, should have been done more. People should have talked more about that on a political level to really get things moving.
Well, thank you so much for your reporting. That is our correspondent, Lisa Louis, reporting from France.